Looks like we got ourselves a batch of shinies, Commander.
Welcome to Coordinated Fire, Episode 45, a Star Wars Shatterpoint podcast where our overconfidence may be our weakness, but our faith in our friends is well placed. How are you doing tonight, Kyle?
Feeling like overconfidence is my weakness. No, I'm good. I'm good. We've had a bit more playtime lately than I think we've had in a bit, which has been really nice. What's going on with you?
Been very busy. Been heading out to work at 4:45 in the morning, which is not...
Yeah, we are a day late in recording. Because you and I have both had some pretty crazy work schedules going on. And
yeah.
As has Sean, who is away for work and wasn't able to join us tonight. So classic adult responsibilities.
Yep, but that happens. We still managed to get some games in, so we'll be talking about that.
Absolutely. We had an event, not this past Sunday, the Sunday before, 8 players out to our local event space, Critical Hit. I think you and I both took some new lists to us for the most part that didn't get much testing going in. I'm excited to talk about them because I'm just feeling good about, honestly, most things I put on the table right now.
Yeah, it feels like pretty much anything is playable at where we're at, which is a good place for the meta to be.
It is nice to just pick up and run something and just try the things that you want to try. But we also got some surprise news last week out of nowhere, and I think came in at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we got new Galactic Legends for Legendary Encounters.
Yep. The promised release of Luke and Vader was finally dropped, and they're really cool.
We will deep dive a little bit later on the episode to chat about them, but honestly, both of them look incredible.
Yeah.
Just off the cuff, going through these last week, I will give the shout out that I give every time we talk about Legendary Encounters. If you have not taken the time to put this on the table or try this yet, it is exceptional.
It is a lot of fun.
And we were actually discussing this last week, that even if you don't have 3 players to play, you can easily do this with 2. One person can do the whole cadre, and one person can do the legend.
Yeah, it's a little awkward having to separate your cadre if you're just playing a one-person thing, but it's not hard to do. It's just obnoxious.
It's definitely doable. Again, best with 3 for sure, but doable. So we'll talk about that. And then we are going to finish off the episode doing a deep dive now that we both had a chance to get some playtime in with him, talking about Baylan.
All right. So why don't we start off with our recent event? It was an 8-person event at Crit, and I brought Stormtroopers and Ewoks, neither of which are what I usually play. I mean, I had some experience with Veers previously, but this was a different beast than what I'd played before. So what did you play, Kyle?
So I played, I couldn't decide on the second half of my list, and I just slapped Obi Mason because my actual goal was to play as many games as I could with Baylan and the armor. So this was Baylan, Bo-Katan with the HKs with armor.
Yep. I had the pleasure to play against it, and I'll put pleasure in brackets there because you kind of ran me over with just armor.
Yeah. So one, I did have a lot of fun with this list, and then the fun thing about playing this alongside Obi Mace was just, I sit down at the table, I grab my pile of hunker tokens, and I get ready for my game, which is apparently how you play Shatterpoint now, right?
Yeah,
because I think the other
kind of what I was doing too. So
to be honest, yeah, with Stormtroopers, because you are playing Lieutenant, with how many that Ewoks, they don't get to keep them, but wow, do they spread them out? I am loving all of these mechanics focusing around hunker. I really am. It is. We've talked about this in the past, and just talking about hunker specifically in just the take cover action and the hunker mechanic is pretty unique, a pretty unique part of Shatterpoint. And I'm really just happy to see there's more than just Obi kind of really making them valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. Before you had things like Luke, or I don't know, you had Firebrand and the EST passing them out.
Yeah, there's some units.
Really, there was no strategy around it. Because they're just so easy to remove.
Yeah, I think you look at both.
Sorry, I was going to say now we have multiple ways to hold on to them.
Yeah, we have multiple ways to hold on to them. And like we've had things like Leia and Mando, which are able to hand out a pretty strong amount of hunkers with what they do. But the ability to keep them is so important. And now that we've got 3 different units, 2 primaries and a secondary that allow you to keep them, you and I both have been playing around with stuff that does that because I think it fits into our playstyle pretty well. I've been really enjoying the Stormtroopers. I actually probably should have just run it as my second list here. You've been on the Veers Thrawn list.
Mm-hmm. So what I had was Veers and Thrawn, and I'm not going to remember necessarily who took what, but it was Stormtrooper Sergeant, Snow Trooper Lieutenant, Stormtroopers, and Shore Troopers, which isn't the typical Stormtrooper list we've been seeing around. A lot of people are going more for Death Troopers, Night Troopers. There are some Shore Troopers around, but I haven't seen many people taking the Stormtroopers at all. And I mean, when we did our rebalance episode, we even said like the Stormtroopers weren't worth taking. I would play
got left behind.
I definitely said I would play the Snow Troopers over them a point down. So I was eating a bit of my words there.
Yeah, so this is a list that you and I kind of talked over and talked about, okay, well, like what makes Moff Thrawn work? And that's defensive or strong supports that are hard to take down, that you're able to move anywhere you want, and they're hard to just cross that break point of getting the wound on them. And Death Troopers aren't quite as good as that role, especially as they once were. And Fifth Brother does a lot, but doesn't synergize as well with a lot of the new toys that Empire has, which favors some Stormtroopers pretty well. And then what makes Fifth Brother work on that? Well, the displacement is a big part of that. Where we're just putting the body on the point, we're pulling something off, we're pushing something away. And we were just kind of chatting over of like, okay, what if you just played 2 supports that both had displacement?
Yeah.
Which is where the storms and the shores come in.
Yes. And for the Empire, yeah, it's a little more restrictive. It's a lot more restrictive, let's be honest.
It is.
But having 2 bodies helps with getting into position, despite the fact that for the Empire takes an action. And something I also found out as I was playing this list is Snow Trooper Lieutenant makes for the Empire much more palatable, because if you're near the Snow Trooper Lieutenant, you don't take an expose, you just take 1 damage, which is a much lighter cost.
Yeah, there's also like, I think more times than you would expect, opportunities where just having Lieutenant nearby and you're able to take a shot and get that take cover action, which can make it so like maybe that's enough that you don't need to do a move action, or you get some shoves on some trees, or combined with that where you're just because alongside Sergeant in this list, every Stormtrooper's outputting a fair amount of dice.
Yes. And the other thing that we really were hitting on was with those Stormtrooper Sergeant dice, you're reliably getting down those trees, and every single unit in this list has heals on their trees.
So
a minimum of 2.
And
including the primaries. So like literally every single unit has heals. And
I think
when you're rolling 6 or 7 defense dice,
and when you're looking at Stormtroopers with 9 health, you're looking at Shore Troopers with 8 health and most of the time protection and steadfast. We don't have a lot currently in the game that's going to be reliably taking those down, especially if it's ranged and they have hunkers, because Lieutenant is great.
Yep. But even in melee, you're rolling 5 or 6 dice, which is more than most things in the game.
Thank you, Veers.
Yes.
Because did I become aware that without Veers, that drops off drastically?
The difference between 4 and 5 is massive.
It really is. But no, I like this list. I think we chatted about this for a while, and I think you as a player have always done a really good job at taking advantage of, no, I'm going to make these heals uncomfortable. These conditions you gave me are meaningless. This unit you were trying to take down, okay, it was almost dead and now it's back to full health. And again, even the versions of Veers that I've been playing, I've done a bit of Vader, done a bit of Moff. The healing is impressive.
Yeah. Like I had my last game against Cam. He, I think, put 8 attacks into the Shore Troopers before they finally went down. Like they just kept healing off everything he would do to them, and he was getting pretty tilted over it. But
But this what the list does. And it does it really well. I will say, I think you and I are on the same page that the effectiveness of Lieutenant and those hunkers drops off pretty drastically when your opponent is mostly attacking in melee.
Yes, it does make a huge difference.
But there are lists, like I think you can be tactful on when you take this, because there are not a small amount of lists that primarily want to be shooting. Droids in their current, other than Grievous, none of them want to be in melee. They're significantly worse. And frankly, when the B2s are only getting their expertise, they're a lot less of a killer than they are when they're getting
they might get a crit or two, but that's purely dice luck. And you expect one with how many dice they're rolling. So I can weather 3 damage and a shove.
Yep.
No problem with this list. I think the only thing I'd be scared to take this into is a Vader 1 Kiadi list, because it's a lot of melee with a lot of dice. Pretty much anything else, something like Morgan will come through and kill something, but unless the whole list is doing that defense is adding up.
After we had our game, I would add all Ewoks to that list.
Yeah, should we go into the Ewoks?
Go ahead.
So I played full Ewoks and true Ewoks. I had Chirpa with C-3PO, so not full Ewoks, but C-3PO and the Trappers, and then Logray with Wicket and the Hunters. So 5 Ewoks plus a droid. And I came away from it going, why isn't anyone just playing this as is? Because it felt amazing. It felt like playing some of those Vader lists without the downside of taking damage. And I'm not even exaggerating there. I was adding 3 to 4 dice on almost every attack, including my 5 dice attacks.
You were rolling an absurd amount of dice on attack, on defense. It was impressive.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, my game against you, armor came across and wounded Logray right away, which does hurt the defense there. But they're just rolling so many dice. I can't understate it. It's a lot.
Yeah, I think, and again, whether I still think there's a spot for Leia and mixing in some rebels in there, but I still think I would double down that Ewoks are currently underrepresented based on what they can do with, I think, the balance of the Trappers came out so good from the rebalance.
The strength in numbers is amazing. I would take, if you're in an Ewok list, I should say, I would take either of those supports over anything Rebels has to offer, except maybe Baze and True. And even then, they're doing completely different things. So, I
can see the argument for Commandos over...
Oh, for sure. I can see the argument. I personally would happily take the Trappers or the Hunters over them.
Yeah, I know you've definitely been happy with y'all Ewoks. Now, we did in our game definitely saw the other side of the fact that Chirpa has to roll for that revenge trigger, and I don't think you made it a single time.
Nope. And I will also say it was definitely a show that strategic is not particularly great for this iteration of the Ewoks, because we ended up having the 33% chance of the initial deployment being opposite of what we were expecting. So Chirpa was very out of position compared to where I had expected him to go off deployment.
Yeah,
because Kyle was first player, so I expect the active point to be on the right side. It ended up on the left. Logray's squad had most of the movement, so I was expecting Chirpa, okay, he just goes forward, he goes to the middle. And having to cross the table just wasn't in the cards for him.
I think based on our deployment, your Chirpa side and my Baylan side ended up in pretty similar circumstances.
Yeah, your Baylan squad never interacted with the game whatsoever.
Each case got there at one point and near the end, but
And Bo-Katan got to a point and then was promptly pushed off and did nothing as well. So it was a quick game.
It was. And then I guess I'll jump into my list. So this was, I'd been wanting to try Baylan and personally not particularly interested in box as is. And there's a very limited amount of options that Baylan can take as a secondary, but Bo-Katan is a very good secondary unit. We just need to go for Mandos. And I know for anyone that's been listening to Rogue Support, Dizzard's been very high on this. And honestly, I wanted to see, I'm listening to it and I'm like, okay, I'm not seeing it. I want to get this on the table and try it out. And then I was chatting with Chris Sampson for a while because I know he's been testing the list, and I always just like hunker tokens. I said that already, and I will continue to say it. It is super fun to be able to keep them. And what I was impressed with 3 games with this over the event, and Tice, you called it out quickly in our game, the amount Baylan just being here enhances the armor box is very notable.
Mm-hmm.
All Mandos have great defensive expertise and not a lot of dice. So being able to keep your hunker tokens makes shooting at them miserable. While Titus, in our game, you were definitely able to be in melee with them more often than not. That didn't happen quite as much in my other 2 games, and it is so noticeable how survivable they are after 3 games with this. And I think the other week after you had been playing Baylan with Ahsoka for a while, I commented that the HKs were more impressive than I think I took away on paper. Now that I have some reps with them, that is a good little support. They are a great little 3-cost that really reliably shoves, and a couple extra dice attacking into a primary is significantly more noticeable than I expected it to be.
Yeah, like I noted that back when I was playing Phil's clones a lot, and that was when I had to spend a force for it, and I think it holds true here.
Yeah, the sending them after a primary one, sending two bodies are just, I'm taking this point no matter what from that primary unit, but they are so reliably able to double shove and reposition that it just opens up big swing plays. I'm able to take something off this objective and maybe this objective, and then I'm able to run to this other one. There were several times where, not so much in our game, but an HK turn was able to swing 2 to 3 points.
Yeah, like they are very good at stealing big plays. They don't necessarily hold the points, but sometimes all you need is that extra couple points to push you over the struggle, and then who cares if they need to score?
We know Bo-Katan's great. That's not news or a surprise. I will say, because one of the things I was going in with is HKs versus Clan Kreese is maybe an improvement, maybe a wash. We're both 7 health. Clan Kreese can shoot decently and have the Mandalorian tech. And I will say that there was a couple notable points with Bo on getting out of deployment where I wasn't able to trigger Mandalorians are stronger together, where when she's got Mandos in the squad that she's in, that happens very consistently. At a slight negative there, I will say the HKs are probably an upgrade over Clan Kreese. Overall, at worst, they're a wash with the losing another Mando tag.
Yeah.
But I'm up a unit that never cost me force, which definitely helps with playing with armor. But how much Baylan just existing enhances that armor box. Armor being able to guaranteed get some expertise on her attack. And the most impressed I was with Paz. Paz being able to have a hunker, has a list that actually has enough force to be able to allow Paz to use his reactives and very reliably get the expertise Paz needs to get very far down his tree was incredible. Same with the coverts are great. Coverts are always great. Sometimes if you don't get that expertise with coverts, that attack efficiency goes down pretty drastically if you have a bad roll. This just added inherent consistency every time one of them in. It was the best output I've seen from the armor box. On the flip side of that, and we'll dive a little deeper into this when we get to chatting about Baylan's activations were under.
Yeah, like at best, Baylan can have some exciting activations, but it's rarely like a big flashy play. Like sometimes you'll pull something off and hit it really hard, but like ultimately he plays like a really force intensive Darth Maul. Which
the whole benefit of Maul is not spending any force.
Exactly. And that's the problem. Like, you can sometimes get a free force activation, and that makes Baylan feel much more palatable. But even when you do that, like, he's usually taking 1, maybe a second point. But even that, you really have to stretch for.
I don't think I ever had him swing 2. I rarely, if ever, had the force to be able to pay to do anything fun with him. I kept him on Naman stance the whole time, which I think is the correct answer. Shove on 1 is great, and he will typically on that tree get to that free force ability. So, and there was definitely times where that I'm banking on, I need to get this free force ability, and if I don't do anything this turn. The good news is he helps himself get there pretty easily.
Yeah, like I find myself kind of at a loss because I've had him flip multiple points, but I've always played him with Shin, so I have a second body moving as well when he goes.
Yes.
And that does make a huge difference.
I did not have that luxury. That makes a huge difference. Yeah, and there were times where like, yeah, he could have a bigger, splashier turn, but I'm dumping 4 force into making that.
Yeah. Which is a lot.
And that,
especially in an armor list.
In a list where I have 5, that's not happening. And I think there's a lot of conversations about what the best thing to take with armor is. I've always been really firm that is the Mandalorian. And I definitely was keeping track of this as I played the games of like, where did Baylan help me and where would I have rather him been Mando? If I'm treating Clan Kreese and HKs as a wash, where would I have rather had Baylan? When would I have rather had Mando? And I can definitely say there were times where, wow, if this was a Mando revenge trigger, I would be in a much better spot. But also had several attack turns where, well, shit, if I didn't have the hunker for the expertise here, I wouldn't have gotten far enough down my tree to do what I needed to do here.
Now, how many of those times would you have had the hunker anyway, just from Mando doing Mando things?
No, I mean like to get the expertise.
On the offense.
On the offense. Yes.
Gotcha.
So it literally went, okay, I would have been in a better spot if I had okay, I was wounded here. This is where Baylan is. If that was Mando, wow, I'd be able to do a cool thing right now versus, oh, I'm attacking and I wouldn't have gotten to the point I needed in my tree to do the big play I'm doing if I wasn't able to drop that hunker for that expertise. It was impactful. This was the most consistent I think I felt playing a Mandalorian list in some time. I think it is likely a wash with Mando, and I'll call it playstyle preferences on whether you'd like the more defensive list and more reactive list versus you'd like the offensive output with bringing Baylan, but it was consistent. It was strong. I question a bit on how I feel it would hold up into some of the better Republic lists or Empire lists that are swimming around right now. But if you want to play Mandalorians, honestly, I put this on the table. It is a really good feeling list. It felt really good. I won each game with it. And is, as someone that's been looking for a home for Baylan that I felt inspired to play, this was definitely the best one for me.
Yeah. I think it's a good second option after Mando. Like, I'll definitely agree on that there. They're two different play styles of similar power level, which feels like a good place to be because Armor really had one really good list and then a couple lists that have some champions out there, but by and large, just I don't think measured up to the Mando version. Whereas now having something comparable is really nice.
And wow, can I say forever that I would love, like this convinced me more than ever that I would love to play Baylan with Mando. And the fact that there is no combination of units that I think makes any goddamn sense to do that makes me sad.
Yeah, it's
because
tough.
Both of them would like to play Bo-Katan. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, yes.
And the fact that I cannot play because of eras, I cannot play Mando Dengar coverts.
Yeah, because that would be a good one too.
Because I think that would be solid, but eras get in my way. And then you have to drop, and at that point you have to play Clan Kreese there. And I just don't think HK's plus like 2/7 health supports is a tough sell.
The fact that we're even comparing Clan Kreese to the coverts at the same point cost is criminal. Like, they're not comparable units. Not remotely.
Even close. No, I'd love if Clan Kreese had 8 health. I think we would be having a very different conversation.
I'm not sold on that.
Fair.
Coverts are really good. They're still one of the best supports in the game.
Offensive output is still nowhere even comparably close. But no, that was my fun with Baylan and Armor. It was a great event. It was nice to see some people out. And honestly, there was just, I think, a lot of excitement about basically every game. Everyone was excited about the list they were playing. It was a great day out.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Feels really good. We also got a chance on Thursday. That sounds right.
Yeah, that's right.
where you got a chance to put Luke on the table as a Galactic Legend, and Ryan and I played a full Stormtrooper cadre. I gotta pull that up to take a look at what we brought. So this is a cadre I've been excited to play, and it just always felt weird with the previous Galactic Legends in just eras. So we had mostly stuck to Separatist and clones to play with the old Legends. I'm super excited to have Luke and Vader to open up some thematic options here, but especially since the rebalance where there's just fun Stormtrooper things to play. So for secondaries, Ryan and I took DTE, DTS, Stormtrooper Sergeant, and Snowtrooper Lieutenant, along with the Stormtroopers, Shore Troopers, Death Troopers, and the Snowtroopers. So we were able to keep a pure all Stormtrooper cadre, which felt really great.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. Titus, I know it created some interesting problems for you.
Yeah, such as where is Stormtrooper Sergeant and how can I kill him?
So Luke went and hunted Stormtrooper Sergeant at one point because yes, if you did not take this down, this was going to be pretty quick in our favor.
Oh, it was brutal. You were adding like 4 or 5 dice to every attack.
I think at one point I rolled 14 dice on DTS's attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 14. Because, wow, when you have 8 Stormtrooper units, Sergeant is very effective.
It was brutal. Like, it was literally, I'm going to ignore everything in between me and Stormtrooper Sergeant, including points that I really should be contesting, and just go for him because I can't handle this amount of firepower.
Yeah, I do know that I think there would be some changes I would make to get Enoch and the Night Troopers in here, but we were really excited to just play pure Stormtroopers, and I'm very happy with it. The only thing I think that was a little lackluster was Lieutenant, because wow, did I realize very quickly that everything in Galactic Legends wants to be in melee, especially Luke's squad, so the hunkers meant nothing. And
yeah,
the
you don't have the
absence
Veer's
of
dice.
And there isn't the Veer's dice to just add the defensive dice. So that was noticeable, but honestly, it was a ton of fun. And if you're looking to just play a fun thematic thing in Legendary Encounters, this was one of my favorite cadres, secondary to, I think, the All Droids Separatists.
And to be fair to Snowtrooper Lieutenant, I think if you had been able to activate him early, the condition removal would have made a big difference.
Would have been very impactful, yes.
Because, well, we'll get to it in a minute, but you were getting a lot of disarms.
And exposes.
Yeah, and exposes. So both of which would have been really nice to just take a damage instead of those.
I would have done it every single time.
Yeah. So
yeah, Tice, you want to talk about playing Luke?
Yeah. So Luke is a very complicated Galactic Legend. For one, he has 3 possible minions that you take 2 of, and it's a choice between Lando, R2-D2, and Bouche Leia, which all have kind of their own mechanics. So it's the first time we've had minions that are actually different than each other on the table.
Yeah.
But I went with Leia R2. Looking at all 3 of them, though, I think all 3 are great. Probably the best minions we've had to date in terms of...
Guaranteed these are the strongest minions, and that is only okay because I would say Luke is a little lacking in the legend front comparatively to some of the output of some others, but holy, those minions are impactful compared to some of the options in the
So, do we want to go through the cards or just give a brief synopsis of...
I think brief synopsis.
Okay, so for Luke, he's all built around a mechanic where he gets determination points, which is kind of like a secondary economy that he has besides force. You just put these tokens on, I think it's called the Master Plan or something. It's another card you put on the table, but you basically get one for each point you are contesting at the beginning of the Legends turn. And then when you flip a card, usually with the other Legends, you just get a set amount of force refresh. In this case, you get force equal to the amount of determination tokens you have. Then your minions have an ability, I think it's always the tactic, that they can spend one of those to make it better. And then when you get to Luke, his tactic gets you a different ability based on however many determination tokens you have. Then finally, during his turn, he can spend those tokens in order to add dice to his attacks. So you're managing the secondary economy as well as force. His units are very, very force hungry because they all have a coordinated fire type ability that is really souped up, better than a normal coordinated fire, but costs a force. So for Leia, she puts an expose on whatever you're attacking, but it's on any attack, not just a combat action. R2's is he just adds 2 dice to the attack. Again, not a combat action attack, any attack. And Lando's is he does a push, like a force push at range 5 after the attack is resolved, and like, we're not talking a Kit Fisto shove, range 2 push. So all 3 are very strong, but the problem is they have that plus an ability. They're triggering off every bonus attack, and Luke obviously has his own force abilities. It is very possible to burn your entire 6 force in your first set of activations.
Being measured is important.
Yeah. So you're managing 2 different economies in terms of just points you have, and it is very easy to blow through both of them really quickly. So I've very rarely have I played things where I need to be quite as restrained as I did with this. To balance that out, the minions that they bring have some very strong passive abilities, some decent tactics, and a very strong active ability each. So for Leia, the most noteworthy one is that she gets just 2 strikes added whenever she hits something in melee that is contesting a point. Just
to repeat that was 2 strikes. That's not 2 dice.
Yep.
That's not an extra roll. That is just, I get 2 automatic hits plus whatever my attack roll is.
Yes. And she doesn't roll a lot of dice. I think it's 6 dice, but 6 dice plus 2 guaranteed strikes is very, very strong.
Yeah, so, and this was partially because she was meleeing into stormtrooper units. So I had 4, like Ryan and I had 4 dice on almost every defensible roll we made. But you were reliably getting your full tree on her.
I actually never got the full tree.
Sorry, you were getting 4 successes?
Yeah, so I was getting 4 of the possible 5 because
Okay.
I kept trying to go for her free force ability and I never got it because she also has the old style boss bomb ability there, which 2 force is a lot, and I would have loved to get that for free and I never got it.
Yeah, she was incredible though. Like she was making
amazing.
Swing turns for you. She was taking down stormtroopers. To be completely honest, like if you are disappointed with Boushh in the main game and have wanted to put that model on the table, she is incredible in this.
Yeah, it was amazing. Now, she's also really helped out by the fact that one of Luke's actives is that he just gives one of his minions a dash and a 5 dice attack, which Boushh goes, oh, okay, 5 dice attack, I'll add my 2 strikes to that. It was just so good. Now, I also took R2, who, to look at him, pretty rough because he has 3 defense at range and 4 in melee.
But
to make up for that, he has a passive where anytime he's attacked in range, his opponent, like whatever's targeting him, is disarmed. Period. No range restrictions, nothing. Just if they are ranged attacking him, they become disarmed.
So this was crippling. And again, this was an all stormtrooper list. And the only 2 things that I think were in that list that are decent in melee whatsoever are DTS and DTE. So I was just throwing stormtrooper attacks into this stupid little droid.
And like 10 dice attacks too. Like,
yeah. They're just, 1 step down the tree, 2 steps down the tree, and early stormtrooper trees are not great. Not for damage output at the very least. I was healing a lot, which I know was actually a little definitely impacting your game a bit.
It was really annoying when you healed the shore troopers more than anything.
Yes. The shores are great. Shores are consistently great. Overall, like every time we play Galactic Legends or Legendary Encounters, I do that every time. This was 1 turn away. I think you won on the turn that if we finish that turn without you winning, we win.
Yes. I also had the option to maybe hold the 2 points, but that would have been even harder than wounding. So
than taking the wounds. Yeah. You ended up getting it on wounds, but it came down to 1 last turn. And I am continuously impressed with the balance of this mode and how close every single game is.
Yep. It was a lot of fun. I think the only other noteworthy thing is Luke doesn't have an amazing tree. He can do a lot of damage. But he does have a manipulating hand ability where he chases after the unit after he makes it dash.
which was very relevant.
Which is very cool.
Yes. And it honestly enabled your winning play at the end.
Yes, it did. It is a very cool way to play because it's not all weighted onto the Galactic Legend. It is the minions are a lot more comparable. Obviously, they don't have the same hit points, but everything else, like the power level, was much more balanced compared to any of the other ones I played.
It was really good. It was a ton of fun, and all three of us came away with that same like, nope, this is fun. It feels exciting every time. So I think we're definitely excited to get Vader on the table next.
My gosh, he looks amazing. If
He looks so
Luke
good.
is really balanced power wise across the whole squad, Vader looks like they just poured everything into his cards.
Yes.
And I'm so here for it.
I am excited to play Vader and mow down whatever is across the table because I'm gonna call dibs on.
Oh my gosh!
On the legend again.
The fact that he has an ability that says he counts as more bodies on a point that he is contesting. Yep. Just there's no upper level. It's not a tiebreaker. It's just I have infinite bodies.
Yeah. If I am on this point, it is mine.
Like it's Krennic, but always.
Yeah. I'm very excited to get that one on the table. But let's jump in and talk about Baylan a little more.
Yeah. So going into Baylan, his box is Baylan, Shin Hati, and the HK droids, which we have covered a couple times when they were spoiled and then when they first came out. But we never really went in depth.
Yeah, we went through their abilities when they were teased and our thoughts on them. But you and I have both had a chance to get Baylan on the table with some very different lists, which is interesting. Do you want to go over the card in whole?
I think we can very quickly go through them. Give me a moment.
I will let you run for Baylan's card.
Yeah, so I probably won't do it verbatim. Okay, so Baylan has 2 active abilities. One is a force pull that costs 2, gives him a hunker. That one's pretty simple to digest. He also has a modified version of Dathomirian Dexterity where he gets a hunker at the end of the dash. He can do it twice, just like Asajj can. Where he gets interesting is his innate and identity. So his innate is at the start of a unit's activation. If it would remove its hunkers, it can choose not to, and will instead remove them at the end of the turn. This doesn't seem useful until you take into account what his identity does, where they can spend the hunkers in order to get expertise. The other part of the innate is that everything starts with a very hunker, important which part. Is nice. Or whenever you lose a struggle, similar to Cassian's new ability, you also get the reward. So you get to load up everything on hunkers, beginning of the game, and when you lose a struggle. So all this combines to essentially give you a very powerful hunker synergy where you are preloaded to modify your expertise.
Which is really good.
Yeah. It's also noteworthy that Baylan can't keep his own hunkers.
Yes.
He gets them really easy, though, so not really a big worry. But yeah, overall, he's I don't know. He has decent turns. Like, he hits pretty hard. He's got 10 hit points. He's mobile. It's just really force intensive.
I was going to say, he's only mobile if you pay for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, his attack in Niman can get him the other dash or can get him a pull. So, like, he can be mobile once he's attacked. It's that first activation that's always the problem. Because there's not much in the game that can move him forward. And as we've seen with things like Luminara, a dash and an advance is rough on a primary unless someone essentially gives you a target. Unless you have something that can move it forward before it activates. And it's really hard to do that with Baylan. That's not to say he's bad. It's just his main weakness is it costs a lot of force to make his turns impactful, especially the first one.
Yeah, there's not many things that can move him. You are absolutely correct. It actually makes me want to explore a couple of things that do have some synergy with him.
Yeah.
I definitely...
Shakti, No Sarai are both decent options. Hondo can do it.
And PLC
also, yeah. I think there's a couple others out there, but those are the main ones that I've really considered or seen.
Because I would have felt a lot better with him on his activations if he was even just a dash forward would have made a huge difference in the impact Baylan could have made on a game. I also, and Titus, I'm pretty sure you made a similar conclusion with the list you were playing, and you were mostly playing with Shin and a lot of like the Shock T Padawans package. But I definitely didn't like him as much on strategic positions as I thought I would.
Yeah, it's rough because he often ends up in a position where he has to cross the board and he just can't.
Yeah. Where I think like it's something like shifting that forces the game to the middle, I think I would be happier with his activations on. And again, not that I'm unhappy with how he supported the rest of the list on something like strategic, but it just made his activation.
Yes. So let's quickly go over Shin and the HKs. So Shin has a force ability to dash and expose something she ends up near. That's similar to DTS, sorry. A couple other things have a similar ability. Where Shin really shines, though, is her reactive. Trained to be something more. When a force user attacks something with a combat action, she can reposition and do a 5-dice attack. If she doesn't have to reposition, she can also just choose to take a hunker instead. And it's really nice with her playstyle because she gets a reposition first step on her tree. So usually either you're repositioning, hitting, repositioning, and going past the opponent to like sneakily take a back point, or you're repositioning in, hitting them, repositioning back to a safe distance. She's very fragile, so you're very rarely staying wherever you run into. Usually it's try to get as much space between her and the opponent as possible because she'll die if they look at her too hard.
Yeah.
But her attacks are pretty impactful. So like when she rolls well on the 5-dice attack, she can still get quite a ways down the tree, which her tree's good. She also has a riposte ability. Don't need much notes there. She's immune to pin and disarm, which is really important for those 5-dice attacks and the repositioning and whatnot. It keeps her very mobile. She can spend hunkers instead of force for activating her abilities. That's also very good. The one problem I've had with her is that she cannot be reserved. And that part sucks. Again, immunity to pin and disarm helps
Definitely
a lot.
helps.
But the fact that she cannot move anyone else means not being able to reserve her is rough. Because if she could move someone else, it would help take away the downside.
Yeah,
if she is in the bad position, that turn is dead.
Yeah, like she's very effective not on her activation if you're running enough force users to take advantage of her. But the moment that reposition and attack starts costing 2 or 3 force,
yes,
you've turned the ability off.
Yeah. It can sometimes be used. Say she's been wounded once, spend a hunker and a force, and if it wins you the struggle, you'll do it. But often, the ability's just dead once she's wounded once, which sucks because she's really easy to wound.
Yeah, and it's part of what I liked about your Ahsoka list, where like at least you have some punishment for if someone's going to hunt her down.
Yeah, which every time I've played it, she gets hunted down. Like, people go out of their way to take her out because she is very impactful until she's wounded.
Because, again, you and I played, I played against you with this list a couple times, and, like, your turns where you're able to take advantage of that, you're swinging points.
Yeah, like, even just
pretty consistently, but
getting an extra attack in there often is super useful. Just 2-3 extra damage often will make the difference between a wound and not a wound. But she doesn't get 2 blocks on her expertise until she gets to 4 expertise on her defense.
Yeah.
And that's really bad. Like,
remarkably so.
There's not many units in the game that are worse than that. The only one I can think of is the B1s, and that's because they don't block anything on 1.
Offensively great, defensively is very rough. Yeah, I think I have a hard time seeing how this would work without something to punish the wound, whether that's Ahsoka, whether you're running Mando on the other side, but then you have gaps in force user. I know
a lot of people run Maul with Shock T and the Padawans, and I tried it. Maul does feel really good in that slot. The problem is you're essentially trying to do an aggro race with 2 of your units being incredibly force hungry. Like, I don't care how much Maul is saving you. Baylan and Shin can eat the entirety of your force budget if either of them becomes wounded at any point.
And then you've got Shock T to take who does frequently need that force repulse to have an effective turn.
So like I like the list, but I don't think it works as well as it should.
To give a caveat there, like for the people that already like Maul, that is actually that list is a great option with Baylan Bucks as is. You and I, Titus, are both in a boat where anytime that generic primary is an option, we would take Jedi No More over Maul.
Most cases, yeah. Occasionally, you just really need that force economy boost. I think in this case, it's too little, too late.
Yeah, I think it's tough to run as is. Now, to finish off with the box to the HKs, they make up a lot of the gap on top of that for the force deficiency.
Yes. They help a lot.
Because they never need to spend a force. They do not need to spend a force on that.
Rarely.
You might spend for avoidance protocols. I definitely did not have any circumstance to do that.
Yeah, like it comes up once every few games, and when it does, it's really good, but they don't get their own hunkers very easily, so it just doesn't come up a whole lot. HK is 7 hit points, and they go down pretty easy, kind of like Shin.
They do not hold a point well.
No, but they are very mobile. They have On the Trail, which we've seen.
They also don't get to 2 blocks until they hit 4x.
Yes. They have On the Trail, which we've seen before. It's works the same way. You pick a target, you dash towards them. It's a free tactic. It's good on every unit that gets it.
Sure is.
And I just keep bringing that up in value. They have avoidance protocols, which is basically a reactive version of Kenobi's knowledge and defense, except they both get to dash if they remove the hunker, which is cool.
I did not find they frequently had or were able to get a hunker.
No, because usually they're keeping the hunker that Baylan gives them, and they do not get one on their own because their job is to cross the table. Target priority protocols. If they attack a primary, they add 2 dice to the attack. So your attacks scale with the hardness of your target, basically. And occasionally, your opponent has a squishy primary, and they just swing for the fences.
I am still, like, even just reading their expertise, melee or ranged, like, that's pretty, like, bad expertise conversion other than on 1.
Even on 2, I'd take 2 hits on, or 2 strikes on 2.
Fine.
Yeah. But usually that's what you're rolling.
Yes. Again, if the dice work out in averages, these guys are very effective. There could be very bad turnouts with these dice.
There absolutely could. And sometimes it happens. And when that does happen, you have the hunker spending to go, okay, well, I can at least get a crit out of this. And
or if I rolled no
expertise,
if you rolled no expertise, flipping it to 1 is very effective.
Yes, that too. You're not relying on that hunker, but it is a good panic button.
I would mathematically expect them into certain targets. Obviously, that's a variable to get 1 to 2 down their tree. And I was shocked at how often 3 was happening.
Yeah, 3 is what my experience has been as well. They love seeing things like Padme across the table, though, because as soon as you get a primary with bad defensive expertise,
which, yeah, they exist.
Yeah, like Veers is also in that boat. Moff Gideon, stuff like that. Like, they're more common than you think, where they just have clone armor. These guys will frequently get 3 or 4 down their tree, and their tree's only 4 long. So they're getting a lot of their value there. And it's shove, reposition, and I think 3 damage on 3? So, like, the damage isn't astounding, but shove, reposition's really good.
Definitely not the conversion they had, but in a lot of ways, these felt like old Magna Guard for me, but fast.
So they felt like a balanced old Magna Guard.
Yes.
Where they didn't hit as hard, but they kind of did what the Magna Guard were trying to do.
They did convince me that if the Magna Guards had a tactic dash, they'd be perfectly fine.
Yep. I think if the Magna Guards had that, they'd be better than these guys right now. But not by a lot.
But would be great.
Finally, if they're engaged with a primary, they have protection and steadfast. It doesn't come up a whole lot because usually you're pushing the primary away. And you're not going to be following them because you want to be on the point that you just shoved them off of.
It
And then the
came up
primary just
enough
leaves.
times for me where, like, other than obviously double tap, like, these guys are afraid of a double tap from supports more than anything else. Because, like,
Yes.
every support in the game can so easily just put out 7 damage on 2 attacks. And basically every primary can hit that breakpoint pretty easily. I definitely had circumstances where it became relevant because a primary needed to come up and hit.
Yeah. Like, it's nice in that case. I will say that the steadfast is usually a lot more relevant than the protection in my experience because it's very easy to push you out of engagement.
No, that's absolutely fair. But overall, from my initial read on these guys where they were pretty bad, I personally like my supports to be better point holders than these guys are. But the swing turns that these guys can output as reliably as they do have been consistently impressive.
Yeah, it's not to be understated how far across the table they can get. Because if all you need to do is push a primary off its back point, dash, reposition, probably hit an Ingress point at some point there, do a range 5 attack. They have range 5, right? Yeah. Do a range 5 attack, push, reposition. That gets you on the point and pushes the primary off. And I don't care where on the table that point is, you're getting it.
Yeah, 100%. So that's the box. I'll be honest, I am not a huge fan of Shin and what she does. And where I get stuck a lot with Baylan is Baylan is in the New Republic era.
Yes.
And is very, very limited on what Baylan can take with him, which really limits some list building options because there is a ton that I wish I could do with him. There is other lists that would enable him better. There is other lists that, like, the holding the hunkers and being able to spend them for expertise would be incredible. But he is so locked to what he comes in his box with a couple other options. List building is a little tough. As always, when we cover a primary, the first step is, what is the out-of-the-box pairing?
The out-of-the-box pairing, there's a couple options, but by and large, I go for the Kiadi box with a core set primary. So it technically is 2 things, but if you're playing the game, you're likely to have access to Ahsoka or Maul. Whether it's you have it or somebody you know has it. Because I don't know that there's any box by itself that I could recommend this with. I mean, you could try it with Kiadi, but, like, I don't think it's great.
No, I don't think that's great. I think assuming a core box is accessible is I think pretty reasonable. And so, Titus, you're running with the Shaak Ti Padawans package with again either Ahsoka or Maul.
Yeah,
I completely agree that is a great direction to go to play box as is.
Yeah, because, like, the thing is, Shin gets the most bang for her buck with the Force users. You need Force users. And there's only 3 Force user supports in the game. And the Inquisitors, while an interesting pairing, are too Force hungry to go with Shin and Baylan. Like, you could do it. It just, it feels a lot harder.
Sell. Yeah. So I think looking at the secondary, so my recommendation for out of the box was actually just going to be the core box.
That's
because
also fair.
The core box allows you to drop Shin for Bo.
Mm-hmm.
You take the HKs, and then you either take Ahsoka or Maul with Gar Saxon and the Super.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say you're replacing the secondary, but that is all still with the core box. That makes sense.
That's all in what. That is all with just the core box.
Yeah. No, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Gar Saxon actually has some decent synergy with the Hunkers across the board, and the Super Mandos are a decent little support.
It turns Gar Saxon into a very reliable way to deal with steadfast units too, because he gets a hunker when he focuses, then he's shooting, he can guarantee the push on his expertise, and the push on his expertise will bypass steadfast.
Yeah, it also just helps Gar get more consistently down his tree, because he actually has a very good tree if you can get down it far enough. Like, the weakness Gar normally hits is that he doesn't shove until 3, so if you don't get it on the expertise, he can fail to flip a point more than I'd like. Baylan increases Gar's consistency a lot, so I actually ironically think if you just got into Shatterpoint and bought the core box, Baylan actually might be one of the best just purchases after, because you have a few paths into some decent lists.
Yep. And I honestly, I would lean Maul in this case if you're going with the Mandalorians.
It's probably Maul. Yeah.
Like that feels like a good list to me.
Yeah, it's solid. And then obviously beyond that core box in Baylan, you can actually just buy the armor box to pair with that Baylan squad also very well, which I think is one of, if not Baylan's most competitive lists that he has access to. I think I could say that pretty confident.
It's funny how all roads always lead back to Mandalorians.
Again, Mandalorians are good at Shatterpoint.
Yeah, they're a good baseline. They're good for new players learning. But they're also very high skill expression once you get good at them.
You definitely it is a high floor with a decent ceiling. But they're also so forgiving. Like a good expertise roll on defense can solve a bad problem. The ability to just constantly have access to jumps can fix poor positioning very well, or poorly planned out terrain, or bad deployment, whatever it is. They are just, I will continue the recommendation forever that if someone is new to Shatterpoint, Mandalorians are absolutely the best place to start. That can take you all the way, because armor is performing very consistently right now, again, in a very healthy and comfortable ballpark 50%. And that's with Baylan or Mando or Maul or Ahsoka. It all just kind of works. Add in that armor's identity is also very forgiving, because all of your activations will be consistently as good as they were when you started.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Despite wounds. Anyway, this is not about armor or Mandalorians, but I think this is a really good direction to take Baylan. Now, I want to talk kind of a little bit, because as you and I have sat and chatted quite a lot about what else you can do with Baylan, there are 5 secondaries in the game that you can take with him total. Obviously,
if only if only he wasn't arrow locked. Because could you imagine taking him with no Sarai? A secondary that can move him and is 3 points. It would be amazing.
There is so many places I would take him if there were more options. Yeah. There really are. I think let's say there are 3 other reasonable options. So we have 2 Empire options in Death Trooper Escort and Enoch. Enoch, he's then forced to take the Dark Troopers, and Enoch wants Stormtroopers, so you're already in an awkward list.
Yes, you do have Coordinated Fire Strain
on
everywhere.
Both of the units,
which is a good coordinated fire, but I don't know that it's worth playing Enoch without Stormtroopers.
Yeah, so here's and add to it, because I think DTE with taking the HKs is probably the more viable route if you wanted to play Baylan with an Empire list on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
You just run into some really awkward points that, one, anything that has decent hunker synergy just wants all Stormtroopers, and you're already down a storm. The ESTs, I guess, would be the next best option, which are a great support.
It's honestly, if I was going that route, it would be ESTs and Firebrand, because Firebrand also doubles down on the hunker synergy.
Does hunker things.
I don't know that it's good. But
I don't know that it's good. And what actually hits me every time, because if you're going Baylan, it is for the I can drop a hunker to gain an expertise.
The ESTs would love that.
The ESTs would happily participate. Their coordinated, or their supporting fire hunker is also just awkward timing for what Baylan wants to do.
After the attack.
Yeah, it's after the attack. So you're getting it, and then it's for the next turn that they activate, which is a little awkward.
And don't forget that if you kept your hunker at the start of the turn, that hunker you get from Sorting Fire will go away.
Yes. So there's synergy, but it doesn't quite work the way you'd want it to. The other thing that gets me with when I look at Empire expertise trees on offense, a lot of Empire units, and DTE is in this category and is the secondary you have to take, has very good expertise at the start, but the more expertise you roll, the worse it gets.
Yes.
Which is not the conversion that Baylan wants to be supported.
No. Yes, it's nice to be able to guarantee your first step.
Guarantee the one.
But the thing is, with Baylan, what I've really found is you're regularly rolling 2 to 3 expertise. So what you really want is a good step to 3 and 4.
4, yes. And honestly, DTE's, the only bad thing about DTE, because DTE is a near perfect secondary, but has really bad late expertise conversion.
Yes.
Hilariously bad.
Yeah.
And I find a lot of Empire units actually sit in that territory. So it creates some weird lists.
It's awkward.
It just always is. No, I think if I was building this, I'd rather have another Empire primary on the other side, whether that is Veers or Morgan or Moff. Every time I try to build an Empire list with Baylan, the answer is if I took something else with an Empire support here, I'd be better off.
Yep.
Because the other piece is that Empire is really good for cost support.
And Baylan just doesn't contribute stuff that Empire wants.
Yeah, like in this case, if Baylan was 8, DT and Dark Troopers, you could make Empire lists. You have great options at this point. Also, if Baylan was 8, I could take Bo-Katan and Coverts, and now I have great Mando lists.
Yes.
Like, just being 7 and being in an era with very little options is very restrictive. Now, there is one last thing that I think is if you want to play Baylan and Mando together, and do I think this is a competitive list? No. Does it look fun? Yes, I'll give it that. Because you can take Grief Karga with Baylan.
And the Bounty Hunters.
And the Bounty Hunters.
Yeah. And then Mando takes Bosk and IG-11.
And
or Han and Chewie.
Or Han and Chewie, or Dengar Weak Ways. You've got a lot of options.
You're taking Grief Karga, so you really want as many bounty hunters as possible to try to leverage what is a bad activation.
Yes.
That's why I lean towards IG-11.
Yeah, is in a few ways, I think like what things Baylan is doing, actually, the bounty hunters are pretty happy with. What I can say, it is probably the best reason to take Grief Karga.
Yeah, that's
for
fair.
Whatever that statement is worth.
Yeah, like he's rough.
Yes.
That's all I got to add there. He just is. Is there anything in Rebels that is good enough support to take Lando with Baylan? I know you could probably make some Empire stuff work there, but we've already established Empire doesn't really like what Baylan's doing.
But if we take DTE with Baylan, so we're DTE
or Shin, one of the two. Shin's a scoundrel at least, so you can make her a rebel.
You don't have Force users though. You could take Ezra, and you end up with
like it's not a huge difference. I'm just saying those are the two options you have.
But I actually think
because the rebel support has to be that secondary. And the support.
Yeah, like you could take Lando, Ezra, Rebel Commandos. Actually, I think, Titus, you highlighted that Luke, secondary, is a Force user.
Luke is a Force user. And Han and Chewie can become Force users. And you don't have to... No, never mind. I was going to say you don't have to payday Han and Chewie as rebels because Lando's doing it for them. But they're paydaying as Force user anyway. So
yeah.
But again... then there's no reason to make Baylan and Shin rebels, because the only rebel tag support you have is Luke, who looks for ranged attacks. And neither of them have ranged attacks.
Yeah, this is great. Welcome to Baylan list building, everyone. I assume a lot of people listening have went through the same journey of trying to figure out some options.
We've gone through this list specifically like 3 times and always come to the same conclusion.
Yeah, I think... if you were going Rebels, I still think the answer is Leia, not Lando.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, like, okay, what if you make Baylan and Shin into something else? But I have yet to find anything that cares enough.
The Leia box is actually just solid with Baylan. She hands out a good amount of hunkers, which are great to keep. The Rebel Commandos love to be regularly hunkered, so like that's an option with whatever secondary.
To be fair, in the Leia box, you don't get the Rebel Commando.
Sorry. Yes, she does not innately take those. They're just where I play them a lot. But even just like Luke, Han, and Chewie. Like, Luke likes things being hunkered. There's a lot of value you can get there. And honestly, I think that list is open to whatever secondary you want to play with Baylan. You could throw in, like, DTE is a very functional unit just on his own.
And is better than Shin if you don't have Force users.
Is better than Shin if you don't have Force users. Bo, I would put in the same boat of she can kind of just function on her own. At that point, I don't know, Rebel Commandos are really good. Sabine's a Mandalorian. I don't think I'm totally sold on that. But, like, there's stuff to play with.
Yes. It's just hard to make them fit the way you want to.
Yeah, I think the direction of heavy Force user with Shin or going Mandos with Bo are really your 2 strongest options. I think the Bounty Hunter list is a great for fun option.
And Empire is a good kind of second tier option.
Yeah. there's stuff to play with
It's not
here.
ideal, but you could definitely make it work.
I will, like, if Baylan was more like if Baylan existed in the Rebellion era, we would have so many more options. If he was 8, there would be a lot more options. Again, with the 7 and the era restriction, kind of what we chatted about here is your options to put Baylan on.
You know what this is making me really realize, though? And, like, I've thought about this before, but it always comes back to this, is the New Republic era should really have a New Republic affiliated character. There's not one.
There is not a single one. Yes.
Yeah. And the era is named after them. So, like, it would be nice.
Yeah, like, we got things from the Mandalorian TV show, and we have things from the Ahsoka show. That is what the era is.
Yeah. And we could have any of the good guys from the Ahsoka show. I mean, it's all Spectres for the most part, but, like,
you know what?
Get new
for
versions
right
of
now,
them.
I'm going to be thankful that Mando is open to both eras, because they didn't have to do that. And wow, would that have been like, you would see so much less Mando.
Yeah, that's true. Things could have been so much worse.
Great, things could have been so much worse.
Oh my gosh, the eras thing is just.
With that, in conclusion to Baylan is super fun. A little limited in the list building, but if you haven't got him on the table yet, he's a ton of fun. Competitive viability, I would say, is still in a questionable state, but I was impressed with playing it with armor. So
yeah, I think that's the main way you're going to see him in any sort of competitive play, I guess, is.
Yeah, because you put in some time with making the Shin lists work, and I think they're solid, but have some pretty significant weaknesses.
Yeah, like it's B tier. They can play into some things, but I would not anchor that by any means. It's a role player.
This does have the privilege right now of being in a very open space where the game is right now, where there is a ton of stuff it can play in just fine.
If it was last meta, it would never see the table.
It literally wouldn't have seen, it not even playable. It can't play against what Delta or Cassian were, but now you have freedom to play around a bit. But that's it. If you're on the fence of Baylan, I do think there's some fun stuff to test and try with him. I think it is a box worth picking up, if for nothing else. And I think just having access to the HKs that are open to the entire game as a solid little 3-cost support, man,
so
if those guys...
I just want to reiterate once more, he's a lot of fun.
He's a lot of fun.
You will probably lose a few games while you're learning him, but you'll enjoy it doing it. And there's very little else I can say to better endorse that than it's fun even when you lose.
My last point for the HKs is, wow, I really wish they were scoundrels.
Yeah.
My Hondo dreams would come alive.
They would be so good with Hondo.
So good.
I mean, they'd be good with Lando. They'd be good with a lot of things.
Even Bounty Hunter, because Bounty Hunters.
If they were scoundrels, I would take them over the Wingguard with Lobot in a heartbeat.
That's where Bartu lives, Titus. I forgot that Lando came with the Wingguard, because that's where Bartu lives. If you've been having fun with Baylan or wanting to give him a try or have some list ideas that we didn't think of here, jump into the Discord. The link is always in the show notes. And I hope everyone's enjoying their games out there. I know we are.
All right. Well, have a good night, everybody.